Hello, friends. Welcome to the ABI Helplines. I am Mohammad Babar, a seasoned software professional with over 5 years of hands-on experience in the tech realm. Join me on this journey as we explore the ever evolving world of software development, share insights, and dive into exciting projects. If you are passionate about coding and tech, you are in the right place. Let's embark on this coding adventure together. Don't forget to hit subscribe and stay tuned for tech talks, tutorials, and more. I have basically a planned a video of top 10 interview questions for you in C sharp that generally asked in the interviews. So let's start our video. The first question that I have prepared is what are the key features of C sharp? So let's start. C Sharp is a versatile programming language known for its powerful features. Here are some basically key features. The most the object oriented. So C Sharp supports object oriented programming, making it easy to work with objects and classes. So number two is the type safety. It enforces strong type checking at compile time, reducing runtime errors. So C Sharp is basically a platform in independence. So it can use multiple platforms like .NET Core and .NET Framework, .NET 5 Plus. So and it manages memory automatically. So it includes a garbage collector to manage memory automatically. Extensive standard library. C Sharp comes with the rich set of libraries of for various tasks. Properties and indexers. C Sharp allow to define properties to encapsulate fields, providing controlled access to class members. Indexers allow you to treat objects as arrays. So it supports LINQ language integrated query. C Sharp includes LINQ, a powerful set of features for querying collections and database directly from the language. It supports exception handling. It provides robust exception handling mechanism to handle runtime errors and exceptions. Modern language constructs. It supports modern language features like async, await, and link. So that's the key features of C Sharp. So explain the difference between ref parameters and out parameter. It's the most important question that generally asked in the interviews. So basically, ref parameters and out parameters are used when you return multiple objects, multiple parameters, multiple lists from a say, method. So when we comes on the differences, so ref parameter is used when you want to pass a variable by reference. It means that changes made to the parameter inside the method will affect the original variable outside the method. So you must initialize the variable before passing it as ref parameter. So the main difference is the ref is the bidirectional parameter, meaning you can both read from and write to it inside the method. So it's basically bidirectional, and you can read and write as well. So when we comes to out parameter, so out parameter is used when you want a method to return multiple values or modify the value of a parameter. So the key difference from ref is that you are not required to initialize the variable before passing it as an out parameter. So it is typically used for methods that need a return a value, and a value is calculated inside the method. It's an output only parameter, so meaning you can read its value before assigning it the method. So it's a unidirectional. Basically, out parameter is unidirectional. It only directs from methods to its calling. So this is the out parameter. It doesn't need to initialize. You doesn't need to initialize that out parameter. So that's the main difference of the ref and out parameter. So what is the difference between IEnumerable and IQueryable in C sharp? So this is the most important question. So when we comes to IEnumerable, it represents as in memory collection of objects. So it is suitable for working with collections like array, lists, and in memory data. So it executes queries on the client side, meaning load all the data into memory and then perform operations like filtering, sorting, and projecting. Keep in mind that it's all filtering, sorting, and projecting are at basically in memory. So here is the example of when you only apply the filter on when you got the in-memory data. So when we comes to iQueryable, so it represents a query that can be executed against a data source like a database in a deferred manner. So it is suitable for working with a remote data source or DB where you want to perform filtering, sorting, and projecting on server side to minimize the data transfer. So it translates link queries into SQL and sends them to the data source for execution. It also enables more efficient retrieval and can reduce the amount of data transferred over the network. So iQueryable is generally when you dealing with the live data, when you required live data, so you use generally use iQueryable. So that's the main difference between iQueryable and IEnumerable. So the next question is the describe the difference between double equal and dot equals expression. So when we comes to double equal operator, so it compares the reference or value equality of objects. So the for reference types like class, it compares whether two references point to the same object in memory. For value types like structs, it compares the value actually. So in example, you see that when we dealing with the reference types, so it returns false because its reference is different. String one reference is different and string two reference is different. So we have same string in that, but its reference is different, so it returns false. So for capturing this, we use equals method that C sharp, latest C sharp provide us equals method. So it compares the content of value equality of objects. So it's a method provided by the object class, and it can be overridden by derived types to define custom equality comparisons. By default, for reference types, it behaves the same double equals, but you can customize it. So in the example, you see that we have two strings, hello, hello. So when we compare that string one to dot equals to string two, so it returns true. So that's the difference. So when we move to the next question, is the what are the events and delegates in C sharp and its types? So how are they different? So when it comes to events in C sharp are a way for one part of your code to notify another part that something interesting has happened. It's like saying, hey, something happened over here. Do something about it if you are interested. So events basically encapsulates the publisher subscriber pattern, allowing objects to subscribe to and receive notifications about certain you can say that actions or state changes. So events provide a more controlled and safe way to allow objects to respond to changes in other objects. So when we see the here in example, we have an event handler my event. So we have invoke that we have generated a method trigger event and invoke this event here. So in we have another method handle event. in which we are just displaying our event handle. So when we make an object of this class event demo, we have gave the reference my event plus equal to demo dot handle event. So when we trigger that demo dot trigger event, so it will direct to this, it will show this output. So it automatically triggers that event we handled in the event handler. So this is the main concept of event. And when we comes to delegate, delegate is a type that represents a reference to a method. It allows you to store and call methods dynamically, and you can say that delegates are like function pointers, enabling you to invoke methods indirectly. So delegates are commonly used for event handling in GUI applications, implementing callback mechanisms, and providing a way to pass methods as a parameter to other methods. So we have four types of delegates here. Number one is the single delegate. A single delegate can point to a single method. It is the simplest form of a delegate. So it's a single delegate. When we comes to multicast delegate, a multicast delegate can point to multiple methods. When a multicast delegate is invoked, all the methods it points to are called. So, a generic delegate can work with any method signature, providing flexibility in usage. And we have two func and action delegates. So, func and action are built-in delegate types in C sharp. So, when we comes to func delegates, it represents functions that return us value. And when it comes to action, so action delegate represent the functions that do not return a value. So I have prepared the example of the delegates here. So when we see the delegate in this version, I have used expression bodied methods for add, subtract, and print message, which can make the code more concise. Additionally, I combined some statements in the main method to reduce the number of lines. Okay, so keep in mind that readability is crucial, so it's essential to strike a balance between brevity and clarity in your code. So these are the I have used all the delegates with example here, so you can see that what the single delegate is doing, it's calling a method above in add delegates. So just like that, I have used a multicast delegate here. It multicast basically print messages again and again. So when we comes to func, so func is basically we have first return type, and other twos are the parameters of the func. So this delegate is the returning an integer and taking two parameters. So this is the func, and action is basically just returning it has just return type. So this is basically an action delegate. So that's the main difference of the delegate and the we have events. So the next important concept is the boxing and inboxing. So boxing is a process of converting a value type into an object type. I will explain in an example. When you box a value type, a new object is created on the heap. So it's created in the heap memory, and a value of the original value type is copied into that object. So this basically allows you to use value types in situations that require reference types, such as when adding a value type to a collection like a list, or passing it as an argument to a method that expects an object. So it's a boxing. And when we comes to unboxing, so unboxing is the process of converting an object back into its original value types. So it basically allows you to retrieve the original value type from the object created during boxing. So these are basically opposite to each other. Unboxing requires explicit type casting, and it's important to ensure that the unboxed value is of the correct type, or you may encounter runtime errors. So when we comes to example, so here you can see that it's a value type integer int value 42. So when we box that integer value, so we box that integer value into the object. So now it becomes an object. We boxed that value. So we convert integer into object. So it's basically a boxing. And in the when we comes to unboxing, so we have an object which has is a value 42. So when we unbox that, we typecast that object into integer. So unboxing is converting object to integer. We have converted into a value type. So it's the boxing and unboxing concepts. So, what is the purpose of the using statement in C sharp? It's also a very important question when we comes to using statement. So, it basically do two things: resource management and namespace aliasing. So, it used to manage resources such as files, database connections, or other objects that need to be explicitly released when you are done with them. So the using statement ensures that these resources are properly disposed of and released even if an exception or error occur during their use. So basically, when you are handling with the files or SQL or database like things, so you have to release that memory by using by this using statement. So otherwise the object memory is not released and you will face the consequences or memory leakage after there. So namespace aliasing, it is used to create an alias for a namespace, allowing you to use types from the namespace without having to write the full namespace path every time. So these are basically two using when you are using in your C sharp. I will explain in an example. So if so you are showing using system and using system.io on the top. So it's the basically a assembly reference that you are using here in the code. So it's just an assembly reference. But when we comes to this using var file stream, so it's basically automatically disposes the object memory here. It performs the operation and automatically disposes the object of file stream object here. So it's the main difference of using. So the another question is the how does exception handling work in C sharp, and explain try catch and finally blocks. So exception handling in C sharp allows you to gracefully handle and recover from errors or exceptional situations that may occur during program execution. So you can use try, catch, and finally blocks to implement exception handling, inner exception, and custom exception. So when we comes to try a catch block, the primary mechanism for handling exceptions in C sharp is the try catch block. Okay, so the code that might raise an exception is placed inside the try catch block, and the code that handles the exception is placed inside the catch block. So the another thing is the finally block. The finally block is used to specify code that will always be executed whether an exception is thrown or not. So it's typically used for cleanup operations. Okay, I will explain in example. In this example, try block contains the code that might throw in an exception. So we have two catch block here. The catch block handles specific types of exceptions. In this case, it catches when we got exception here in divided by zero. So when we divide by zero, so this exception divided by zero is called. Okay, but in case of any general exception, when we have any general exception, so this exception block is called. So after that try catch, the finally block contains the code that always run whether an exception occurred or not. So this is often used for cleanup operations. So this must be called in, after the try catch finally code. So this is the exception handling concept. So the what are the different access modifiers in C sharp? So we have basically five access modifiers in C sharp. Public, so when we comes to public, so public members and classes are accessible from any part of the program, both within the defining assembly and from other assemblies. So public is the access to all the assemblies, all the you can, if you have multiple objects, so public class is available for all the objects. So when we comes to private, so private members are accessible only within the containing types class, or so they are not visible or accessible from outside the class. So when we comes to protected, protected members are accessible within the containing type and any derived classes, they are not accessible from outside the class. So internal members are and classes are accessible within the same assembly but not from outside the assemblies. So this allows for controlled sharing of code within the single assembly, so you can use it in with single assemblies, just like a one project. If you have a multiple projects, so you use internal and that are all the classes. So protected internal is basically combines the characteristics of both protected and internal. It provides access to members within the same assembly, internal access, and allow access to derived class protected access, so regardless of whether they are in the same assembly. So I have taking a table of that is showing the public, protected, internal, and all the accesses of. So when we talk about within the class, so all of the members are accessible. When we talk about the derived class of same assemblies, then you can say that private is not accessible. So when we comes to non-derived class same assembly, so you can see that protected and it's a private protected, so they cannot accessible here. So this is the table. You can see that where the public is accessible and where the others are accessible. So this is the main difference. So the last question is the what is the difference between struct and class in C sharp? So it's also an important question. So struct is basically a value type. When you create a struct variable, it stores the actual data directly in memory and can't be null. So this is the struct. Each instance of a struct is independent and changes to one instance do not affect others. Okay, so struct are typically used for small simple data types. Okay, they are created on the stack by default. They don't support inheritance and generally more memory efficient and can have better performance. So this is the struct. And when we comes to class, so you know that class is a reference type. When you create a class variables, it stores a reference memory address to the actual data. So they can be set to null, indicating that the reference does not point to any object. Multiple variables can reference the same object, and changes to one instance can affect all references or to that object. So classes are typically used for complex data structures, objects, and created on the heap memory by default. So and support inheritance. So this is the classes. And when we comes to example, so you see that we can initialize the struct here, public, and we have defined that struct, and we have defined the class as well. So we can call that classes and struct here by using new keyword, and we will create an object of that struct and class. So in this example, the struct and a point class. So basically these are the point struct is a struct and class point class is a class. So both representing 2D points, each has x and y coordinates and method to display the point. In the main method, instances of both the struct and the class are created and their coordinates are displayed using concise code. So the output will show the coordinates of both instances. So these are the end of our video. So these are the top 10 questions that generally asked in the interviews. So Thank you guys. That's all from this presentation, and we will make a video on .NET top 10 questions, interview questions after that. So please hit the subscribe button and like our video and share and support our channel to motivate us to make some more videos like that. So thank you very much guys, thank you very much.